Welcome back to TalkNorth.com. Thank you for listening. If you can, please download before you listen. It helps our business. I'd also like to thank our producer, Brandon Morton, and let you know if you'd like to sponsor this program or any of the programs on the network, you can reach me at jsouhan47@gmail.com. Preps today with John Millea. We have big news to discuss. Paige Bueckers committing to UConn, what that means. We'll also traipse. How about traipse for a verb? Traipse around the state.
Let's traipse.
Traipse around the state of prep sports in Minnesota. John Millea, of course, is the MSHSL prep guru. I'm Jim Souhan from the Star Tribune, and we appreciate the sponsorship of Pizza Barn Princeton, pizzabarnprinceton.com. Check them out. What does it mean to you that Paige Bueckers commits to UConn? I know we can celebrate the fact that Minnesota produced a player of that caliber, or if you're like Sid, you can complain that she left the state.
You're never getting a job in this town.
Never work in this town again.
I think it's Bueckers, to be honest.
Bueckers. Oh, I'm sorry.
I believe that's.
And you know what?
Paige, I can pronounce.
As listeners to our other shows know, I perpetually apologizing for mispronouncing people's names. Paige Bueckers.
And part of that is guys like us. We deal in the written word,
and I'm so ingrained in that. As long as I spell it right.
That's it. No, this is not a surprise. This is not an upset. Gino Auriemma, the UConn coach, has been at Hopkins. I've been joking all along. He's been at Hopkins so much they almost made him a member of the faculty. But, if you've got an offer from UConn, and you're a female basketball player, how do you turn it down? That's one question. And, Paige is a big-time player. She'll be a senior next year, probably the top-rated senior in that class next year. And, she could have gone anywhere in the world to play college basketball. I haven't come up with a good answer. Who says no to UConn?
And here's the other factor, talking to people who know that program, who have been around that school, they say that Gino Auriemma, the most famous, most successful women's basketball coach in the country, with the possible exception of Cheryl Reeve, but he's been at it even longer, spent his life at that high school. He was there all the time. He was flying in all the time. He was a constant presence.
Yeah. At practice, not just games. He was there at practice.
He was there all the time.
Yeah.
And Marlene Stallings barely showed up.
Yeah, she was at one game.
She was at one game.
When she was coaching the U.
Now, we all think very highly of Lindsay Whalen as a human being and as a coach. And I think she tried like heck to get the Gophers back in the game. Yeah. The game was lost before she started playing.
I think you're right, Jim. And, I had been thinking all along, if Lindsay and her coaching staff can't land Paige Bueckers, it can't be done. Nobody could. Nobody coaching at the U could have, and that's fine. This isn't a slap on the Gophers at all, or Lindsay, this is the best player in her class in the country wanting to play for the most well-known women's college basketball coach in the country. And good luck to her. And I'll tell you what, if you want to see her play, she's got a season to go here, and she is phenomenal. She's just so talented, works so hard. And Brian Cosgriff, who's been the coach at Hopkins for the girls program all these years, this fabulous run they've had, he's told me she's the hardest worker he's ever had. She's not just talented. She's a great example for other players. She's not, she doesn't see herself as I'm the superstar and you guys are supposed to make me look good. It's the opposite. I'm what I am, and I want to make everybody great. That's kind of how she is. So the big question now is on the boys' side, Matthew Hurt from Rochester, John Marshall. Mm-hmm. He's a senior. He's done playing high school basketball. And he's got offers from Duke and North Carolina and Kentucky and the U, obviously, where his brother plays.
He's not going to Minnesota.
And there you go. There you heard it there. You heard it first.
He's not.
Yeah, I'd be surprised. If you've got, it's kind of like Paige Bueckers. If you've got all these other opportunities.
Well, the other thing is that I think the only chance Minnesota had, and again, I've spent some time around the program. I know people who know the program better than I do. I think the only chance he had of choosing Minnesota was as if Richard Pitino had been able to play his brother massive minutes, and he had success, and the team had success. Then that might have given him a chance. The fact that his brother didn't play much, and I'm not saying Richard Pitino's wrong. I'm just saying I think that was his only chance. And you know what happened? Gabe Kalsher played so well. Gabe Kalsher ended up being a key player, ended up getting those minutes. So I'm not saying Richard did anything wrong. You can't sabotage your own team and play somebody just to for a shot at getting another recruit. It's not going to work out.
Exactly. So I don't know if Matthew has a timetable of when he's going to make an announcement, but that's kind of the next. I mean, that's the one everybody's been waiting for a year or more because he's a senior. He's going to graduate.
He is a great player.
He is phenomenal. It's too bad we didn't get to see Rochester John Marshall at the state tournament, but they're in a tough section, and Lakeville North came out of that section and finished the state runner-up in the big schools. So congratulations to Paige Bueckers, and now the Matthew Hurt waiting period is well underway here.
Have you gotten to know John Oxton very well?
A little bit, yeah. I really like John Oxton.
He's been to my house. He's been to my house to drink beer from back in the days when I was coaching youth basketball, and we have some get-togethers. Always a very kind of quiet guy, and when he first started coaching there, I don't think people realized how good he was.
Yeah. Oh, I think you're right, because he is a quiet guy.
And
he's not a stomper and a yeller.
And now you see he's really good.
Very good. Yeah, he's really built one of the great high school basketball programs in the state there at Lakeville North.
Let's thank Pizza Barn. Let's get to the band of the week. Pizza Barn, Minnesota, pizzabarnprinceton.com. You can get it on your way north. You can get it on your way south. It is the ultimate family-owned, community-based business. I'll let John tell you more about it.
Yeah, it really is, Jim. Up in Princeton, right off of 169. It's easy to find in downtown Princeton. We've updated the pizza of the month here. I may be heading there as soon as we're done with the show here. White pizza with shrimp. That is right up my alley. I have no words for white pizza with shrimp, but if I've got a month to get there, basically. If we don't get snowed in, I might make it up there. Another cool thing about Pizza Barn in Princeton, they have take and bake pizzas. And if you're going north, or if you're coming back from the cabin, as you're thinking ahead to summer cabin time here, you can get on their website, pizzabarnprinceton.com, and you can order it online, and it'll be ready to be picked up. It's a fabulous deal. Take and bake pizzas from Pizza Barn in Princeton. You can't go wrong doing that. So check them out online. Check their website. Great menu. Everything you'd want to eat, they have it, I think, including gluten-free pizzas, as Jim learned when we were up there a couple weeks ago. Great people. They employ high school kids. That's great. They're very community-minded in Princeton, and we're really, really glad to be connected with Pizza Barn in Princeton.
And GPS will get you close to Pizza Barn. It might not get you exactly to Pizza Barn. There's also a pizza pub down the street, which is a different vibe. It's like a big bar. The Pizza Barn is a small, family-operated, cozy place where you're going to be, people are going to greet you. They're going to remember you. So, make sure you get to the one that's in the strip mall. Pizza Barn. Barn. All right, band of the week.
This one is pretty cool, Jim. And this is not a band that I saw in the last week, but this story was kind of a holdover from the girls' state basketball tournament. One of the quarterfinal games at the Pavilion, Austin was involved. And Austin High School has had a great band program for longer than anybody can remember. And I kind of tucked this story in the back of my little brain at the time, but I was shooting some photos or some video or both of the band to put out on Twitter. And I noticed a special needs student in the band playing the drums. And that's all I knew. There's this girl playing a drum. Clearly she's into it. She's not there for show. She's part of the band. And I found out later her name is Tyra Wiles. She's a senior at Austin. And I wrote about her on John's Journal. And really a neat story. She does have Down syndrome. Her mom, Linda, is a substitute teacher in Austin, so all the kids know her mom. And in middle school, Linda realized how much Tyra liked music. She went to the middle school band teacher, said, "Is there some way my daughter can be part of this? I don't care if you give her a foam drum and foam drumsticks. She would love to be part of the band." So she's been in it all the way through. Now she's a senior. And really a neat story. I talked to current and former band directors down there in Austin, and just great things. And Linda's she barely has words to say how grateful she is for the opportunities Tyra has had, being part of the band, getting on the bus, just being one of the kids. It's a great story. Tyra's also a member of the adapted bowling team. She's the captain. She's been to the state tournament in bowling. So I love the bands because of music, but it's also like any other team or any other activity or sport. The stories are kind of behind the scenes here. And this one really, the reaction to this one was really, really amazing. It wasn't surprising at all, but really amazing. I got some wonderful feedback on how important school activities can be, specifically, in this case, the Austin Band and Tyra Wiles. Really a neat story.
And I've been covering a lot of the NCAA tournament. I've been at all 6 rounds, and the best part of these games are the pep bands.
Oh, it's fantastic.
They're fun. They're smart kids. They're engaged. They're clever. They're great musicians, and they probably have more fun than anybody else, including the players.
I think you're right, and I think it's the same thing on the high school level. These bands are phenomenal. They add so much to the games, and nothing but fun.
This is our high school show on TalkNorth.com. Of course, we have all the other great shows. Check them all at TalkNorth.com. Subscribe at iTunes or on your favorite podcast app. Rate us, rip us, whatever you like to do. We appreciate the feedback. Whitey Skoog.
Yeah, people who know the name Whitey Skoog, he passed away last week. He was 92. And people probably remember Whitey as a Gophers basketball player, but probably more so with the Minneapolis Lakers way back in the day. And like I said, Whitey was 92. Died in St. Peter, where he was the golf coach at Gustavus for 22 years. And I don't know if a lot of basketball people realize that, but he's from Brainerd. He went to the University of Minnesota. He was teammates with Bud Grant. That's the kind of people Whitey ran around with. And our friend Mike Bialka, the now retired sports editor in Brainerd, tweeted something kind of neat. He said, I wrote about Whitey a few times. On one occasion, he drove up to Brainerd for an in-person interview. Drove from St. Peter to Brainerd, sat down with Mike for an interview, turned around and drove back to St. Peter. And that's not a short drive. And Mike wrote, not only was he a great basketball player, he was the consummate gentleman. So because Mike asked, hey, Whitey, can we sit down and do an interview? Whitey got in the car in St. Peter, drove to Brainerd.
Wow.
Spent a little time with Mike, went home.
Dang.
That is not a big-time move. That is a gentlemanly move. So Whitey Skoog, really, he's one of those Minnesota legends.
Well, my condolences to everybody who knew him, and I do know people who knew him and loved him.
Yeah.
MSHSL board meeting. What went on?
We had a big day last Thursday. I'll go over some of the decisions that were made, and there's a lot of decisions that are going to be made. The one that got a lot of headlines was a vote on boys volleyball. A lot of schools in the metro have been playing boys volleyball for a year, 2-3 years now, as a spring sport, and they asked the high school league board of directors to give their approval, and then it would have needed one more vote by the rep assembly of the high school league, which is kind of like the legislature of the high school league. It's a 48-member body. If the board of directors had said yes to boys volleyball, it would have moved to the rep assembly in May. But the board said no, 12-7 against adding boys volleyball from the 20-member board. One member missed the meeting. But there were several speakers in favor of this that spoke to the board. One of them was a tall guy named Hugh McCutcheon. He came to the board meeting.
I saw him at spring training, meeting with the Twins people.
Yeah, there you go. And he's a busy guy. He spoke to the board, and then he apologized. He had to leave. He had to get to another appointment. And there were, one or two speakers who didn't exactly think this was the great idea. One was a Metro athletic director who said the timing just isn't right here now. And the way these things work, these don't just come to the board and boom, there's a vote. There's a whole process. I don't want to get into the weeds too much on things like region committees, but the state's divided into 8 sections or regions, and in each of those regions, there's a committee for small schools and a committee for big schools. So there's 16 region committees. And the vote was 12-4 in the region committees against boys volleyball. And those are from all size schools. And right now, boys volleyball, it's basically a big school metro thing. It's going to come back, and that's fine. And it may be approved at some point, but it was not approved this time. So they'll come back, and that's fine. They probably should. Section placement. This every 2 years, the high school league goes through section placements. That's the process by which teams are put into classes,